Hey guys, you guys said you wanted to see the replay of our amazing duo game that we had. This is probably the best duo game we've had for a couple seasons now. Like we had a pretty intense end game, and I did a poll saying, "Hey, do you guys want to see this on the second channel?" And you guys were like, "Yeah." So here we are. This is actually at the first elimination. I thought I'd skip the start of the game. We did land at Dirty Docks this game. So Matt and I immediately take out this squad. As Pyro would say, here I am being a loot hog, because that's apparently what I am. I don't believe so personally. I mean, everyone would do that. But yeah, so we're currently just attempting to heal up at this point in the game after that fight. Although Storm does start to push us in a moment. So once we're ready to, I guess, begin moving and setting up our game, we just kind of finish looting up right here and then we move on. Now, obviously there is a squad over at Boney right here. And I'm pretty sure these guys start pushing us in a moment, so we have to be pretty careful with our movements. Matt and I decide, hey, do you know what would be awesome if we head back to the Spire? Now, I didn't actually remember we actually headed back to the Spire. But we wanted to go check this loot for some reason, whatever reason, I'm not 100% sure on why. But we both head back to Spire, and Storm starts to begin pushing. Ever so slowly, but it does. And we have to start moving. Now, that squad over at Boney does start to move towards us, I believe. I cannot actually remember. Yes, we do take the zipline to move over here. And it's actually the squad on the mountain. Right, I got the wrong team. So, squad on the mountain notices me and Matt moving down here. So we have to be careful, especially me because I don't have any mobility whatsoever. So I just need to stay out of their sight while I heal up. But then this squad over here is also attacking us with a stink bow, so we have to be pretty careful in this situation. Matt decides to go up the mountain, and I go with him. I have no other options though, so I have to build straight up. Because of my lack of options, I do get a bit pressured in this situation. And we begin to fight this squad. Now, because literally everyone and their mother is in this area, we can't really fight right now. So Matt gets into a bit of a pickle. I'm hiding in the bush at this moment in time. And Matt actually goes down in this fight. So Matt tries his best to kind of hide. I've left the bush at this point because I need to get to Matt. And they've noticed me, so I start to begin to fight them. Then I realize, because of the amount of squads here, that is an awful idea. So I decide to just drop down, and I begin to heal Matt under this build. Now, what surprises me here, and Matt, is this guy from the squad on the mountain literally goes out and runs back into the bush in a third-person game, and somehow doesn't see me and Matt. Matt shockwaves the both of us off the mountain, but we land at different sides. I go towards the bridge, and Matt goes this way. Now, Matt is too busy evading every other squad that's available right now, on really low health, mind you. So, since this is mostly Matt's game compared to mine, Matt goes over here, and he actually finds two floppers, which are the absolute godsend. He would definitely be dead if it weren't for those. As for me, I am currently hiding inside of the building, and this guy who is in the thing, notices me inside the building and starts shooting. And they start to actually attempt to pressure me, as far as I believe. But they run in the opposite direction. But I'm actually really scared at this point. So Matt actually moves over back towards me. And we both realize, hey, do you know what will be really clutch? If we take out the guy in this build. So, I believe I actually go down during this fight. Yeah, I go down. And this guy misses every single shot for some reason. And Matt hits every single shot with the SMG. So Matt is able to pull off a revive, and we get all of the loot that this guy had. At this time, the other squads, there's a squad at the bridge, so I'm pretty glad I moved away from there. And the guys on the mountain have gone over to Weeping. We'll get back to these guys later. Because there is a lot more squads here than we think. For example, the guys over there. So there are these guys from the bridge who actually move over to Boney Burbs. Matt and I see these guys in a moment, and we realize it's not a good idea to use the shockwave bow because we don't want to grab attention from these guys. At this point, because of the guy we just eliminated, both Matt and I do have shockwave bows. So we can both rotate now. We just don't want to gather too much attention towards ourselves. Matt begins to use a medkit, since we are now in the zone. And we decide it's a good idea to move over to Boney Burbs, because we might actually find some loot there. We can also move along the storm and not draw too much attention to ourselves. So we begin to go up the mountain, and here Matt actually drops his medkit for those grenades. I asked Matt if he has a secondary medkit, because I always have a medkit in my loadout. And Matt decides to bring the grenades instead, because they do actually prove to be useful. What Matt does here is he actually throws the grenades at the build to, I guess, damage or down the teammate. And he does actually down the teammate. Now, I pressure with the shockwave bow, and we both go in to go take out... This is the squad from Bridge. We both go over to take him out. I take out his teammate, and then I go over and get a... I guess eliminate him with the pump shotgun. Matt and I do some very, very quick and light healing, because we didn't really take up too much damage from that fight. We took him out pretty easily. Now, we do need to move again, because we are on the edge of zone, and we need to move towards the next place. But I actually didn't realize there was a supply drop here. But I remembered that Matt did pick up the gold infantry rifle here. He probably could have done better without it, because he didn't actually use it too much at all. But we realized there is a squad over here that we have to be careful of. And because of this squad, they actually see Matt as far as I'm concerned. They don't see me because I'm behind the tree. But they do start beaming Matt. And this could have been bad if we didn't move out of the way. Like, Matt just takes a lot of damage. And the storm starts pushing us. And these guys have a flame bow. And that is going to become a huge pain in the backside later on. So Matt decides, hey, we should get towards Weeping and get out of the way. So we both use our shockwave bows to just kind of flee towards Weeping Woods for a while. And this is where the endgame gets pretty intense. We should not be alive, and there are many times here where we should not have been alive. But this is definitely the peak. Now, the guys on the mountain, these are the guys from the previous mountain, and they actually see Matt. So Matt decides to back off and get out of the way, while I'm still hiding behind the tree. Now, the squad from earlier see Matt, and they start to cause a bit of a hassle for him. And this is where things get a little rough. I get over to help Matt, and Matt moves out the way. Now, Matt goes and hides over here for a bit and heals up. Now, I go and attempt, stupidly, to take on this squad by myself, and I actually go down here. This is where I am fully eliminated from the game. I get shockwave bowed over towards the bridge, and I begin to crawl backwards, and Matt moves up to the side of the bridge, but just enough so he's not in sight. Now, this is where I go down, and the enemy squad, or the enemy duo, decides, hey, let's go push, and Matt decides to attempt to beam them. But then his teammate with the flame bow comes in, and this is where things get pretty intense and terrifying for Matt. Matt is on 3 health. And the fire is spreading across every single build. And he just got shot with an AR as well. Matt is on insanely low health right now. And he just had to build. Also, like, then his life could depend. Like, he had to build like his life depends on it. Because it quite literally did. That flame bow put us in such a situation where we were practically screaming the entire time. Now, for Godsend, I had Matt's old medkit. And this guy misses his tactical shotgun, and Matt's able to launch himself and the enemy away. The enemy goes into the storm to loot up, and Matt takes the medkit that he gave me, which I obviously dropped on death, to heal up. I'm so glad that we had that medkit, because otherwise we definitely would have lost this game. But Matt just sprays Jonesy and kills him with a pump in the end. A spare medkit as well, which is a really, really good thing. I don't know if Matt takes the flamebow here. I don't think he does. But as far as I know, this is a one-on-one now, because it's just Apple. This is the guy who was hiding in a bush earlier on in the game over there. And this guy took out both of the duo who was on the mountain. Now, Matt is currently being pressured by this guy, so Matt decides to move up to the side of the mountain. Now, with this fight, Matt does try to break his builds down, because Apple starts to build up. And Matt tries to break his builds down, but because of the amount of supports that are holding this structure up, he kind of fails to do so. So what does he do? He realizes at this point that, hey, this isn't going to work. So he runs over with the shockwave bow. Or he shockwaves himself towards it. And then he shockwaves himself through the builds. This also gives Matt high ground. So this is where he gets a very light damage with attack, because Raven was too far away to actually do any serious damage with that. And Matt shockwaves up. Now, the thing is, with what Matt does here is they start to just fight. But Matt decides to do the biggest outplay of his life. Now, he realizes what might be a really good idea is after medkitting, he actually decides to pull off a shockwave bow outplay. Raven thinks he's gonna drop down. So, Matt's platform didn't break because of that one wall. So, Matt grabs the shockwave bow, and he actually lands on here to outplay Raven. And Raven thinks he's gonna drop down. So, Matt grabs the shockwave bow, and gets a perfect headshot with the shockwave bow. And that is the end of the game. We should not have won this game. There were so many times where we were at near-death moments. The amount of times we cheated death in this game is insane. And this is the most intense duo game we've had in a long time. It was very, like, it was, wow. I still can't get over this duo game. Honestly, this was the most sweat-like Matt has ever been. He built faster than he's ever built before. And I mean, I got a couple eliminations myself, but I wasn't too impressive myself. I kind of suck at this game. I'm gonna be honest with you. But this was the best duo game we've had pretty much all of Chapter 2, so thanks, guys, and I hope you, I guess, enjoyed the replay? I don't know. This is just a replay recording, you know? It's nothing to write home about, but, you know, it was a fun game. Thought I'd share it with you. Peace.